Good afternoon everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Mark Ash and I'm the Managing Director here at Awesome. Today we've got something a little bit extra special. We're going to be talking about race cars. And I've got some friends that have come to join us. That's Nick Beaumont from JWBird Motorsports. And we've got their calibrator with us today, which is Ben Wardle from RacingLine. So let's go over to the car, let's have a look, and let's introduce you to the guys. Hi guys.
Morning.
Distance.
Distancing.
1 metre. So this is Nick Beaumont from JWBird Motorsports.
Morning.
And this is Ben Wardle from RacingLine.
Morning.
Just to give you an insight what's happening here today, obviously our rollers we use here for tuning and development, and obviously some diagnostic stuff. But at time to time, we actually use our rollers for purposes of motorsport. And these guys have used our dyno quite a few times now.
Quite a few times now, yeah.
Quite a few times. They can bring some cars down, check the calibration, and rent the dyno out for a couple of days and just, well, we'll go through a little bit more about what's involved in the championship and the power levels, etc. But first of all, let's talk to Nick. Nick, do you want to just talk a little bit about what you do and the history?
Okay, so I used to race in the championship myself. I've raced cars from being 17, British touring cars back in 2001. I was very fortunate, I was sponsored by B&Q at the time. We then got involved with Volkswagen through motorsport and through their corporate side, so we deal a lot with product launch, car launch, and then the motorsport side came along from that. Championship's a great championship. Volkswagen Cup races UK and sometimes abroad, so we've done Spa a few times, Zandvoort, great tracks to go to. Our problem is that we need things like a rolling road, where Awesome GTI have always been really helpful. Mark's helped us out when I phoned up on a Friday night saying, I've got a problem with the car, I need to get it on the rolling road tomorrow morning. Always helped out, it's been great. Ben from RacingLine, he does the mapping for us, so we have a bespoke map. So each of the cars in the championship, they run different power to weight, so it makes it nice and easy. If you're quite a sturdy gentleman or lady, you run a little bit more power. If you're a little bit lighter, like I used to be many years ago, you'd probably use a little bit less power. So 260 to 300 brake horsepower in the championship, 25 kilo roughly power band in weight between each power band. Makes it a great championship, nice and equal. Everyone has a similar sort of car, little tweaks here and there, which we've done over the years.
So we first met really on one of the RacingLine events where you were a driver that took us out and effectively told us how bad we were at driving, taught us how to corner and obviously braking points, etc, etc. So that you've done quite a few events like that. We
have, yeah, we've done a lot. So over the years with RacingLine, we've done an awful lot, and I think you brought some of your guests, didn't you, from Awesome GTI down as well. It's a great experience for people to get on track in a safe way and try the cars. You know, these cars now, they are so powerful. Even as a road car, I think you're pulling 350 to 400 brake horsepower out of a road car now. Obviously a lot of speed cameras around. As we know myself, I was on a speed awareness course yesterday. A lot of speed cameras around, so track days are perfect. With Awesome GTI and RacingLine, we've done a very good track day course before where we've took customers out.
Do you still offer that?
We do, yeah, we still do. We've just done a driving experience in February out in Finland with Juha Kankkunen, and that was in Audi-based vehicles on the frozen lake. So it's on a metre of ice over 20 metres of water. Great experience for people to try and do. When it snows over here or we get a bit of ice, people don't really know how to drive, and that was a great experience.
But do you actually advertise? And so if someone wanted to have, you know, a lot of people want to learn how to drive. We all think that we can drive until we go onto a track. So if someone wanted to come to you for an experience of a sort of training session, is that something that they can?
It is. We do offer that to a lot of people. If you want to bring your own car and have an instructor with you for the day at a circuit, we can do that. Also, if you want to rent one of our cars for the day and use that and with an instructor again, then you know we are more than happy to do that. We do that for quite a few people, customers. Even if it's just for a small corporate event where it's maybe 2 or 3 drivers that you want to bring down, we can arrange that as well.
Brilliant. Good stuff. Let's talk about the car. So this started as a road car, obviously.
Yeah.
So it's not you know, a shell that you've just, although it is probably more of a shell now.
Yeah.
Can you talk through what actually makes this car you know, a race car, and what is it
Okay.
that you do to it?
So first of all, we look for a genuine low mileage road car. So this was a 2014 car, I think it was, about 40,000 miles. Everything then gets stripped out of it. So suspension completely binned, engine, gearbox, loom, ECU, everything goes out the car. This is the first, this one, so it's the first time we've transplanted a Golf R engine. I think it's an EA 888, 888 engine into one of these, which has been quite a trying time for us.
So we're going to have to detune this, or you're going to have to detune it, correct?
It's an interesting one, yeah. A lot of people want to know how to get more power from the car. With this, we actually have to get less power, but make it consistent and smooth, so it's good for use on track.
Because that horsepower is capped at championship level?
This particular one, with the power to weight for this car, we want 270 horsepower. As Nick was explaining earlier on, there's different bands for different weights. So this one needs to be 270, and that's what we're aiming for on the dyno today.
So what's the reason for putting, you know, a Golf R engine in that then too?
So we've run the AXX BWA 2-litre engines for a number of years now. Ben very kindly showed me what a standard road car would do, and also when we've been down here in the past, you've had your road cars on the dyno. We're basically finding about 90 Newton meters more torque for the same power as we would have done on the older engine. Right. So with the power to weight, it doesn't mention anything about torque. So it's an expensive exercise for us to try and make this work.
Beautiful, so I can see why you're doing that.
Yeah. So we can still run the 270 brake horsepower, same as the car that was on pole last year.
But we'll have an increase.
But we've got 90 Newton meters potentially more torque.
So we'll see how that fares up on track.
Yeah, so this is a bit of a rush job.
The suspension on this, I believe you're running the Olin suspension.
We do, yeah. So again, there's we're very fortunate. No, we've run this suspension for probably about the last 5 or 6 years now. So as I used to race myself and still do occasionally, I want to make sure I've got the best that I can possibly give. Yeah. So the dampers that we use are a 4-way Olin's damper, so very different to a road damper. Yeah. In the fact that they also have what's called a blow-off valve on these. So we've actually got a 5-way adjustable damper, which becomes very, very confusing, very complicated, but also very expensive. So a rough cost for the 4 dampers is around about £12,000 to £13,000, just for the 4 dampers. So
more expensive than the car.
It makes the car quite expensive. Especially when we start looking at all the bits and pieces that we have to put onto the car. So we used to run a ceramic disc on the front rotor, which we've gone back to the steel now. The ceramic was a very, very good disc for us to try and develop. We ran it for 2 years. So we went back to the steel rotor, which is an AP system, works absolutely fantastic. We used the VAG Bremtech brackets, mounting brackets and bells. With the AP caliper. Do you?
Yeah.
That's a surprise.
Good company, that. Very good company.
A lot of the car's changed. So the outer is still the same as it was. We have a different exhaust system, engine, gearbox.
I think we'll probably listen to the exhaust system later, and I think the technicians in the workshop are using ear defenders at the moment. It's quite loud.
It is quite loud, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. So we have pretty much a straight through exhaust system, apart from we have to run a 100-cell Racecar. Yeah. But the rest is straight through.
Brilliant. Let's take a look inside the car, and you can explain obviously what we've done in there. Right. I was going to talk about the inside of this car, but I know nothing. So I'm going to hand you over to Nick, who's going to explain a little bit about the interior.
Okay, so as you can see, not very much left in here at all. The big thing we do is put a roll cage in the car, which is for strength and safety. So the roll cage goes from the rear pickup points right the way through to the front struts. We've seen over the years quite a few big accidents. Drivers walk away. The cage in these cars is extremely strong and really does save someone. Racing seats, we've got a full carbon seat in this car. Again, it fits the driver perfectly, holds them nice and tight. The belts aren't in at the moment just because we're on the dyno, but the seat allows the driver to be fixed, so their arms and legs are the only things that can move really inside the car. Steering wheel's completely different, smaller steering wheel. This one's actually a carbon wheel as well, again just for weight. So we try and lose as much weight out the car as we possibly can do. Pedal box, we're down to an aluminium pedal box. Again, we get rid of the standard bulkhead mounted pedal box, replace it for lightweight aluminium. This allows us to adjust the bias from front to rear on the brakes. So during a race, the brakes get quite warm, and what can happen is that you end up losing a little bit of front brake pressure, so you just want to push a little bit more to the front, helps the car still to stop. A lot of the switches are changed, so we have no ignition switch on a key, all on buttons down at the centre here. Also a fire extinguisher just in case it all goes very, very wrong. Fuel line, we get rid of all the standard fuel lines, and we have a braided hose which runs right the way through, which is for, again, safety. Fuel lines that go underneath the car can get hit by curbs as we're going across the track, so all the fuel lines and brake lines go back inside the car again. So very different really. We've got a heated screen also on this car, which we have made. So it's two halves. It can be fitted to a road car, I believe. But again, they're great for us because we've got no carpets, no fans. When it does rain, it clears the screen perfectly. Makes life easy.
Hi, I'm Ben from RacingLine. I'm head of the software department, and we've been working with JWBird Motorsports for quite some time now regarding their calibrations on race cars. So people ask us on a very regular basis about custom tuning and all that kind of thing, and are all maps generic and what have you. There's nothing more customized than actually tuning one of these race cars. So as we said earlier on, this car has to hit a target of no more than 270 horsepower. So what we do with that is we try to make as much power as early as possible, and then to hold 270 horsepower all the way through to the red line. And it's very interesting to try and do that because the car is naturally trying to make more power all the time, and we have to use torque limitation to pull that power back in a controlled manner by altering the boost and the injection and the timing to try and keep that underneath the 270 horsepower mark. So this is a brand new build from JWB. It's the first time that they've used this engine in this car. So it's been a voyage of discovery for both parties, realistically. The engine used in this car is a CJX engine from a Mark 7 Golf R, so it's an engine that we at RacingLine are very, very well versed in. However, trying to tune the car in this manner is something that's quite new to us in these race cars, keeping this power down. This is the kind of map that a lot of people are used to seeing when they talk about engine tuning on the internet and see YouTube videos, etc. And this is actually a standard torque limiter for in gear. So what we're going to do is just show you this in a text format, and this will show you the engine RPM across the top. The left scale is not properly identified in this map. I haven't done that, but this is gear 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is obviously neutral through to 6 and reverse. And what we do is we set torque limitation values based in Newton meters, which gives us a graph that looks a little bit like this. So as you can see, green there is a standard map, and what we're doing here with the blue section is cutting the power off by utilising that map in as smooth a fashion as possible. So that's the kind of thing that people would like to normally see in rotation, and you can see it looks a little bit strange. Normally you'll see lots of red and lots of increases, but you know, it's very odd to be decreasing the values in a car. But that's what we have to do with these race cars to get them to run correctly. So the main thing is that we log ignition, boost, timing, fueling. We ensure that the exhaust gas temperatures are not too high by using a probe. We ensure that the lambdas are okay and not too lean and also not too rich. Too rich can lose us power and run through a lot of fuel. Too lean can be too hot and cause no end of other problems. So there's a lot of development work goes into this, and this car's actually out on its first test day on Saturday. So we've got a lot of work to do before Saturday to get this car out there testing, and once Nick has driven the car himself, only then will a customer be able to drive the car and ensure that everything is as good as it should be. After that, there may be some further tweaks to do, there may be some further work to do, but for the moment we're aiming for that.
Well, there you go, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Obviously, we just wanted to bring you a little bit something different. And here we have, obviously, as we said, this is the race car. And just wanted to explain that as a company, obviously, we work with a lot of different tuners. And here's a couple of the different guys here. So I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen, and I hope it's been a little bit educational what goes on with to get a race car to the level that it needs to be at for championship. So stay tuned, and we'll be back with more exciting new stuff soon.